Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. It's an exciting day of movement. We got the 10 of Wands as the spooky bad obstacle, and we got the 2 of Wands as the super happy awesome opportunity. So let's start with the 10. Tens, tens, perfect order, a perfectly balanced amount of wands and sticks. Now this is, I think, I think this is like indicative of someone who has so completely taken on physical tasks, who has so perfectly adapted themselves to responsibly carrying out things they have to do, that they become a total machine, like a perfectly just autonomous. It's an autonomous worker, essentially. The figure carrying the wands, it almost looks to me like the wands they're like in his face. Can't see where he's going. And the arms, the part of the body that is doing the work, is white, colormantically representing that very ordered state. Perfectly organized labor. It's good to have. I like having a schedule. I certainly like all the work that I get done when I follow that schedule, but there certainly can be such a thing as micromanaging and scheduling every single thing in your life to the point where you don't feel like a human being anymore. With wands, this would be scheduling movements, actions, but potentially also, more specifically, potentially like sex, any sexuality oriented thing, and also creativity oriented things. So this could either imply that, you know, maybe maybe scheduling sexy time is a bad idea, or maybe heading in the direction where you need to schedule that, or scheduling expression or creativity, that that it might be at the point, or at least certainly there's a danger of creative, sexual, and work movements can be heading in the direction of being so organized that they essentially take away the individual's humanity, personality, identity. The individual dissolves into the work and just becomes this agent that only exists to carry out the work. I think the 9 preceding it, this guy, he's thinking about it. He's thinking, what's he gonna do with all of those different things he could do? And he's got that bandaged up head, like he may have already had, you know, some, he may have already experienced some negative consequences dealing with uh, dealing with too many actions. It's a card that demands some sort of change or revolution, demands a decision. The 9 is a very active card. The 10, in a lot of ways, even though this person looks like they're active, they're moving. The 10 is frozen in time. It's an absolutely still card where essentially nothing can change until everything changes. And that's why it's followed by the Ace of Swords. It's the beginning of this new cycle. When you're at this point where everything you do is completely scheduled and automated and thoughtless, the the response to that, the thing that grows into, is the Ace of Swords, the that first singular idea, the first potential for ideas and thoughts. I'm guessing this person, after they do that kind of entirely consuming labor, at some point they're going to snap out of it and go, wait, I have a thought. What am I doing? Let's think about this. um, so yeah, so the warning here, don't overschedule at least be aware of the potential cost of, you know, overscheduling. It comes at the cost of your identity. You start to see less and less of the world. You're just on autopilot. That's not a great thing. And then the Two of Wands. I like how both of these are wands. They're both action oriented, and this is kind of this could be seen as a response to this kind of stagnation, this this full total occupancy. I'm trying to make a joke about a occupancy limit. No more people allowed in the elevator. You have reached your maximum. I like the two a lot. This is one of those cards that I really like the image. I like the combination of so the juxtaposition of the foreground and background. We got this figure. He's on the edge. He's on the edge. He's looking out onto the world. He's looking at the real world, and he's also looking at this globe that he's holding in his hand. And the globe symbolizes the world, and then there's also the real thing. He's holding on to a wand. He's contemplating moving, but there's also another wand that has been bolted or somehow, tethered or attached to the wall, to the edge of the wall that he's standing on. I really like the contrast and juxtaposition of considering action in the world, all the while existing in a state that only gives you the privilege to even consider action in the world because of all the action that's been done in the here and now. So this guy, first of all, he wouldn't be on this wall, edge of a castle maybe or something, if a bunch of work hadn't gone into the construction of it, and he might not be in a position to even consider venturing out had he not been. I mean, he looks like an adult, right? Has he ever ventured out before? I would presume not. I like to read this card as this is this person's first consideration of venturing out, which means that he's been living and growing up in this stable place, you know, and that's what's been allowing him to grow to the kind of individual who can even contemplate leaving at some point. But he hasn't yet. He's not going anywhere. It's just the potential exists there. And yeah, I particularly like the juxtaposition of the globe and the actual scenery. I really like the statement, the map is not the territory. And even though this card is, in a lot of ways, this card is inactive and dormant and receptive, it's not really an active card. It certainly deals with wands, the suit of action and creativity and, things happening. But this card, I think, demonstrates, it symbolizes a state of a very primal, early state of potential to do things. And I think that it could symbolize the thing that's missing for action. The thing that is causing this sort of stalemate, stillness, is the confusion between the map and the territory, the confusion between the globe in his hand and the actual world, um, and potentially mistaking the two. But I think that seeing where this progression goes, the next card being the Page of Wands, the early the early explorer, the first setting out of the individual into the setting off into the world of action. I think that the the two symbolizes a place from which we do end up leaving. And I think the opportunity here is, to recognize that difference between the plan and the execution, the map and the territory, the even something like, potentially mistaken this is a theme that I like quite often, the difference between practice and application, or rehearsal and the actual act, right? Um, a city in a lot of ways is a tiny little microcosm of the world. you know, and it reproduces. Most cities have parks and fountains and things that are in a lot of ways symbolic reproductions of nature, of wilderness. Um, but I think that it's possible for someone to maybe spend a long time in the city and make the mistake of the the symbolic references to those things in nature actually being those. It's like it's the moment of realization that the city is not the world that maybe allows you to consider um, finally getting out there. Um, and the card this leads to the Page of Wands. It's in a lot of ways it's an acknowledgement of the kind of first steps, the innocent and naive steps. I think it's important to remember that that's what's required to to head out of this kind of stability for the first time. And again, why there's no such thing as practicing to the point where you're going to be an expert on your first expedition. That first expedition is you're always going to be ignorant, naive, uninformed, and the more prepared you are to essentially be surprised, amazed, terrified, but to encounter the unknown, to go out there with the humility of understanding your position. I think that's important. The page is wearing a lot of yellow, symbolizing thoughts and ideas. I think that he's he's not represented by the red color predominantly, which is the color of the suit, the color of action. He's out there with an idea, but he is starting to pursue it. Um, so yeah, I think the opportunity here for combating this potential kind of stagnation is to consider how your perception of an environment, whether it's the world or whatever, how your idea of it is different than the actual thing, and to maybe use the results of that contemplation to inspire you to go out there and start doing some exploring. Thanks for watching. Hope you had a nice time. Drop me a comment if you would like to be entered to a weekly draw for a free one-on-one reading. Take care, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.